It was just after 2 a.m. when I heard the soft sound of footsteps padding across the hallway. I assumed it was my son, maybe needing water or having a nightmare. But what happened next still haunts me. I had just closed my eyes again when I heard it, his tiny voice, whispering just outside my door. At first, I thought he was talking to himself. But when I listened closely, I realized he was repeating something no child should even know. The words didn't make sense right away, but the tone in his voice was what sent chills down my spine. He sounded confused. Hurt. Almost like he was trying to understand something way too big for him. I got up quietly and peeked out. He didn't see me. He was standing by the living room window, clutching his little stuffed elephant, whispering the same phrase again and again. And that's when I heard it clearly. Mommy said not to tell Daddy she kissed Uncle Ray. My heart stopped. I froze in place, unable to move or even breathe. I didn't want to believe what I had just heard. Maybe he misunderstood something. Maybe he was dreaming. But deep down, something told me he was telling the truth, his innocent truth. That one sentence shattered the quiet night and shook everything I thought I knew about my life. My wife and I had been married for 8 years. We weren't perfect, but I never imagined she could betray me. And Uncle Ray? He was like family. Always around, always helpful. I had trusted him like a brother. Suddenly, memories began flashing in my mind, times I ignored the odd looks between them, the private laughs, the long hugs I brushed off. Were they more than just friendly moments? My son turned around then, noticed me watching, and his face lit up. He ran into my arms like nothing was wrong, like he hadn't just unraveled my entire world. I held him tightly, trying to keep my voice steady as I asked, "What did Mommy say again?" But he just smiled and whispered, "It's our little secret." From that moment, nothing felt normal again. I didn't know whether to confront her or pretend I hadn't heard anything. But the truth had been spoken, and it came from the most innocent voice in the house. What I uncovered next was even more disturbing. The next morning felt different. I watched my wife pour coffee like she did every day, but now every little move seemed suspicious. I kept replaying my son's words in my head, "Mommy said not to tell Daddy she kissed Uncle Ray." It echoed through my mind like a warning I couldn't unhear. I studied her face, her eyes, trying to catch something, anything. But she was calm. Too calm. Like someone who didn't know her secret had slipped out during the night. Ray was due to stop by that afternoon. He'd helped us renovate the basement a few months back and still came around often, always with some excuse, tools to return, help with the garden, or just to check in. I never thought much of it before. But now, each past visit played in my head like a puzzle I hadn't noticed was being assembled right under my nose. The way she'd laugh extra hard at his jokes. How he'd stay late even after I'd gone to bed. How sometimes, when I'd walk into a room, they'd stop talking or glance at each other like they were caught off guard. I always shrugged it off. Trusted her. Trusted him. That day, I paid closer attention. I watched her phone more than usual. Noticed how she kept it face down. How her smile felt just a bit forced when I asked simple questions. And when Ray showed up, I watched both of them. He walked in like nothing had happened, all friendly and casual. But now I noticed the small things, the hesitation in her voice when she greeted him, the way she avoided eye contact when I looked at both of them together. My son, completely unaware of the storm brewing, ran up to Ray with open arms. "Uncle Ray," he shouted, hugging him tightly. I couldn't help but watch them, wondering how deep this really went. My stomach twisted. Had I missed all the signs? Was my family just a story built on half-truths and secrets? I didn't say anything that day. I kept smiling, nodding, playing along like everything was normal. But inside, I was torn. I didn't want to accuse anyone without proof. I didn't want to believe it. But I also couldn't ignore what I'd heard. And the more I dug, the more cracks I started to see. Something wasn't right. And I was about to find out just how deep this betrayal really went. Over the next few days, I felt like a stranger in my own home. I was smiling on the outside, pretending everything was okay, but inside, I was breaking apart. Every little moment became a clue, every glance, every whispered phone call, every unexplained errand. I started watching my wife more closely, and that trust we'd built over the years? It started to slip through my fingers like sand. She still acted normal, still kissed me goodnight, still packed our son's lunch for school. But I could feel something behind her eyes, like a weight she was hiding. I didn't want to spy on her, but something inside me pushed me to look deeper. One night, after she went to bed, I went through her phone. My hands were shaking the entire time. I didn't find any obvious messages from Ray, but she had deleted most of her chat history. That alone felt like a red flag. Who deletes everything unless there's something to hide? And then, there were the photos, harmless on the surface, group pictures from family get-togethers. But in every one, she was always near him, standing a little too close, her smile a little too wide. Meanwhile, my son kept bringing up strange things. One evening while drawing, he casually said, "Uncle Ray said he loves Mommy's secret perfume." My heart sank again. What kind of uncle says that to a child? It was like he didn't even care if my son heard these things. Or maybe he thought kids forget. But they don't. Not always. And now, those little comments were stitching themselves into something much bigger. The worst part was the isolation. I couldn't talk to anyone about it, not yet. My own parents loved my wife. My friends would either say I was overthinking or push me to confront her, but I wasn't ready. I didn't want to explode without knowing for sure. And I definitely didn't want to traumatize my son. There was also another layer, my own guilt. Had I been too focused on work? Too distant? Had I missed signs that she wasn't happy? Maybe I had unknowingly pushed her away. But even if I had, nothing could justify betrayal. I wasn't perfect, but I never crossed that line. The more I thought about it, the more I realized this wasn't just about infidelity. It was about the cracks in our foundation that had gone unnoticed for far too long. The breaking point came on a Thursday evening. It had been a long week, filled with silent stares, fake smiles, and the unbearable weight of pretending everything was fine. That night, my wife said she was stepping out to pick up groceries. Something about the way she grabbed her purse too quickly and avoided my eyes made me suspicious. I waited a few minutes, then picked up my keys and followed her. I stayed far enough behind to not get noticed. My hands were gripping the steering wheel tighter than I realized. She didn't go to the grocery store. She drove straight to a quiet side street near Ray's apartment building. My chest tightened. I watched her park and sit in the car for a few minutes. Then he came out. Ray. Smiling like everything was normal. She got out too, and before I could even process it, they hugged. Not just a casual hug, a slow, familiar, intimate one. I could feel my blood rushing to my head. It was like watching my worst fear play out in real time. I didn't confront them. I couldn't. My heart was racing so fast, I thought I might pass out. I sat frozen in the car, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. They stood there for a few minutes, talking closely. Then they got back in her car and drove off together. I followed at a distance, careful not to be seen. They didn't go far, just to a small cafe, one we had once gone to for our anniversary. That part stung the most. Of all places, why there? Inside, they sat across from each other, talking like they didn't have a care in the world. I couldn't hear them, but I didn't need to. The looks, the body language, it all said enough. I took a picture through the window. Not because I needed proof anymore, I already knew the truth, but because part of me still couldn't believe it without seeing it. Driving home felt like moving in slow motion. I kept thinking about my son, his innocent whispers, and how he had been the one to unknowingly reveal the truth. I walked through the front door and sat on the couch in the dark, waiting. My heart was racing, my mind spinning with questions. I knew the moment of confrontation was coming. And nothing after that would ever be the same. I sat in the dark, listening to the soft ticking of the clock, every second feeling like a hammer to my chest. The front door finally creaked open. I heard her step in, keys jingling, grocery bag rustling. She didn't even realize I was there until she turned toward the living room. Her eyes met mine, and for a split second, there was panic. Quick, subtle, but I saw it. She masked it fast, putting on a smile like nothing had happened. "You scared me," she said lightly, placing the bag on the kitchen counter. "Why are you sitting in the dark?" I didn't answer. I just watched her, trying to keep my hands from shaking. Every part of me wanted to explode, to ask her where she really was, to confront her with what I saw. But something in me held back. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was that I wasn't done uncovering the truth. Because deep down, I felt like there was more. And I was right. Later that night, after she'd gone to sleep, I got a notification on our shared laptop, an email from a cloud storage account I forgot was even synced. It was an automated backup alert for photos recently uploaded. Curious, I opened it. What I found changed everything. It was a photo. A blurry one at first, taken from a low angle, probably by accident. But then a second one loaded. And then a third. This time, it was clearer. My son, sitting on a bed that wasn't ours. Ray was in the background, half-dressed. My wife was sitting beside our child, brushing his hair, like it was the most normal thing in the world. My stomach dropped. That wasn't just a casual visit. That was another home. Another life. Suddenly, the signs made sense. The overnight work retreats, the weekends she said she was visiting her sister, the way Ray always showed up when she wasn't around. This wasn't just an affair, it was something deeper. Something ongoing. And worst of all, she had taken our son into it. Into a second life I had no idea existed. The betrayal hit different now. It wasn't just about love or trust, it was about my child. What kind of confusion had he been living in? Being told to keep secrets. Being made to feel like it was normal. I felt anger, sadness, and helplessness all at once. And yet, I couldn't just act on emotion. I needed to be smart, for him. I started documenting everything, photos, times, locations. I called a lawyer the next morning, quietly, carefully. Because if she was capable of this much deception, I had no idea what she might do if she felt cornered. I had to protect my son. That became the only thing that mattered. But just when I thought I had seen the worst, another truth came out, one I never expected. And this time, it didn't just break me. It made me question everything I thought I knew about my own past. The confrontation happened 2 days later. I waited until our son was at school. She came into the living room, phone in hand, casually scrolling like she didn't have a secret world hidden behind that screen. I turned off the TV and looked straight at her. "I followed you the other night," I said quietly. She froze, her thumb pausing mid-scroll. "I saw you with Ray. At the cafe." "I know." For a moment, she didn't say anything. Then her face dropped, like the weight of it all finally hit her. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she whispered, tears already welling up. It started when you were traveling so much for work. I was lonely. Ray was there. It wasn't supposed to go this far." I asked her about the photos. The second apartment. Taking our son there. That part shattered me more than anything. She broke down, sobbing, saying she never meant to confuse him, that she just wanted normal moments with Ray, moments where it felt like a family. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She didn't just lie to me, she created a double life and brought our child into it. But just as I was ready to move forward with legal steps, to file for separation and ensure custody, I got a call from the lawyer. He had done a bit of digging, just routine background checks. But what he found wasn't routine at all. Ray wasn't who he said he was. His real name was Raymond Foster. He had changed his identity years ago after being arrested for fraud and manipulation in another state. He had a history of getting close to families, particularly women with young children, and convincing them to start over, always in secret, always away from the father. The photos, the second apartment, the gifts, everything was part of his pattern. My blood ran cold. My wife wasn't just unfaithful. She had fallen under the spell of someone dangerous, someone who had a history of tearing families apart. When I showed her the truth, her face went white. She had no idea who Ray really was. The fear in her eyes was real. And in that moment, the anger in me was replaced by something else, urgency. Because this wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This was about protecting my son from a man we never really knew. After that final truth came out, everything moved quickly. I filed a police report and handed over all the information we had about Ray, his real name, his past, the photos, the addresses. My wife cooperated fully, shaken by the reality that she had unknowingly put our son in danger. For the first time in weeks, we were on the same side, not as a couple, but as parents trying to fix what had nearly fallen apart. Ray disappeared the moment he realized we were onto him. Authorities launched an investigation, and though they haven't found him yet, there's now a record and a warning flag in place. He won't be able to hide forever. I moved out shortly after and took temporary custody of our son. It wasn't easy explaining everything to a child, but I kept it simple. I told him some grown-ups make mistakes, and it's okay to feel confused. What mattered most was that he was safe, loved, and never had to keep secrets again. That seemed to settle something in him. Slowly, I could see the weight of what he'd been carrying start to lift. As for my wife, she started therapy. She's working to understand how she allowed herself to fall so deeply into someone else's story. She apologized, not just to me, but to our son. I don't know what the future holds for us. Forgiveness isn't a quick process. But healing has to start somewhere, even if it means walking separate paths. I've learned that betrayal doesn't always come like thunder, it can whisper in the dark, wear a familiar face, and speak in the voice of someone you thought you knew. What hurt most wasn't the lie itself, but the silence that followed, the days I spent doubting my own instincts. But in the end, it was my son's small voice that led me to the truth. What he whispered in the night became the light that exposed everything. This story isn't just about infidelity, it's about listening closely, about the strength it takes to face what you don't want to see. It's about protecting the ones who can't protect themselves yet. And it's a reminder that sometimes the hardest truths lead to the most important changes. In the end, I didn't just lose a relationship, I gained clarity, purpose, and a deeper connection with my son that no one will ever come between again.